Okay, so we're going to go over the next 15 questions for the final. That's going to be problems. I guess we'll get through problem number 25. So I posted a video already on 1 through 10. And so I'm going to start on number 11. And on number 11, it says that Cleo maintains an average balance of $1,000 on his credit card, which carries an annual interest rate of 15%. And it's asking us to find the monthly interest payments in the situation described. We want to assume that the monthly interest rates are 1/12 of the annual interest rates. So to do this problem, you're going to calculate the monthly interest by taking your amount that you started out with, your principal, and you're going to multiply that by 15%. Times 1/12. And the reason that you're multiplying by 1/12 is we're doing this per month, and there are 12 months in the year. So when you do 1,000 times, and notice that we changed our 15% into a decimal. So we took that and divided by 100, which gave us 0.15. So 1,000 times 0.15 times 1/12 gives us 12.50, and that's going to be dollars. So we would want to pick A for that answer. Okay. Number 12 says, use the compound interest formula for compounding more than once a year to determine the accumulated balance after the stated period. Okay, so we've got A is equal to the principal, 1 plus our APR, divided by N. Remember, N is the number of times it happens per year. And then we're going to raise that to the number of times it happens per year times the number of years it happens. So in this particular problem, we start out with, I'm so sorry. Let me go back up here. We're going to use the same one. I went straight to 13. Let me go back. We're using the same formula for this one up here. But on problem number 12, it says we've got $400 and we're depositing it at an APR of 4%. And with quarterly compounding, which means it's going to happen 4 times a year, and we're doing this for 6 years. Okay, so that's going to end up being $400. That's our principal. That's what we started out with. And then we're going to have 1 plus an APR. Remember that you don't put 4, you don't put the percent, you take that and you divide it by 100 to get 0.04 here over 4. And 4 is, this is 4 because quarterly is going to happen 4 times a year. Then we're going to raise that to NY. So N is the number of times it happens a year, times the number of years, and it says that this happens for 6. We're doing this 6 years. So when you calculate that in the calculator, you're going to get $507.89. Okay, so before you take your final, I would strongly encourage you to try to type these things in the calculator and make sure that you're able to get this answer. Because if you're typing figure out what you're typing in wrong in order to make sure you're able to get the right answer. Because a lot of times people are plugging in the right things, but they don't know how to insert it in the calculator, and so they're getting the wrong answer. You can, if you have a TI-84, you can type this all in the calculator at one time. If you don't have a TI-84, you can maybe divide it up into steps. So maybe figure out, I'll just give you a clue. Maybe do this, figure out what 1 plus 0.04 divided by 4 is, get that part down. So if I type that part in my calculator, 1 plus the fraction 4 divided by 4. Okay, that gives me 1.01, and then I can figure out what the 4 times 6 is, which is 24. Now the calculator will handle that. Everybody's calculator will handle that. So If you're having a lot of trouble with the calculator problems, maybe just break it down into something smaller, figure out that middle part, and then type it in. Okay. On number 13, same type of problem. We're going to start out with $25,000 in a college fund for 5 years. And it says, how much will you have to deposit now in an account with an APR of 3.3%? And annual compounding. So that means it's only compounding one time a year. So all these ends are just going to be one. So $25,000. And we're on this one, let me back up. On this one, it says that we are trying to figure out what the payment is. So we're going to need to change the formula. Kind of got mixed up when I wrote problem number 12 down wrong. Let me go back. So we're trying to calculate the payment on this one. Okay, and the payment formula is A over 1 plus the APR divided by N to the NY. Okay, so we want to have our A is the total amount that we're taking out. So $25,000. Okay, so on the bottom, we're going to have 1 plus, now remember that this 3.3, you can't just write 3.3. You need to do 3.3 divided by 100, which ends up being 0.033. So this is going to be 0.033 divided by 1 because we're only doing this one time per year. And then you're going to raise it to 1 time per year times 5 years. Okay. The answer is going to be $21,253.89. So that's going to give us what we would have to get that $25,000. Okay, if we only did it one time a year for 5 years. Okay. Number 14 says, suppose you start saving today for a $30,000 down payment that you plan to make on a house in 15 years. So we know we're putting in $30,000. That's how much we have to have. We've got a $30,000 down payment, so that's what we have up front. We're going to do this for 15 years. Assume you make no deposits into the account after your initial deposit, and the account has a monthly compounding, so monthly, so it's going to happen 12 times a year, right? That's what that means. And an APR of 4%, so we know we're going to have to do 4 divided by 100, which is going to be 0.04. So how much would you need to deposit now to reach your goal of $30,000 in 15 years? Okay, so you're going to want to use that same formula that we had before. On problem number 13. And to fill in the blanks here, we would have 30,000 divided by 1 plus 0.04 for APR. It's happening monthly, so 12 times a year. And then it's happening monthly for 15 years. Okay, that's going to come up to $16,480.79. Okay, once again, if you are really struggling with going straight from here to here, you probably want to break it down. An example of breaking this problem down would be go ahead and put your 30,000 on the top. Then maybe break this bottom part down and figure out what the 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12 is. We could figure that out. It doesn't come out even, but let me change it to a fraction. So 301 divided by 300. And then that would be raised to the 12 times 15. We could figure that out. Okay, then you could take your 30,000 and then do your fraction that's 301 over 300 raised to the 180th power. That's given me a decimal. It's really best to be able to type it all in at once, but if you're not able to get that, this will help you get the right answer. And this keeps going. So I'm going to leave this answer on my screen, and I'm going to do 30,000, and I'm going to do divided by the answer, because it'll pull this back up, because this kept going. And I got 16,480.79 if I round. So still going to get the right answer, but I'm going at it step by step and not trying to type it all in the calculator at the same time. So once again, before you take your final, please practice these and make sure that you're able to type these in the calculator to get the right answer. You don't want to wait until you're taking your final to do that. 15 says you invest $20,000 in an account that pays simple interest of 3% for 1 year. Okay, so on this one, you're just going to calculate 3% of $20,000. So that's going to be 0.03, because you took the 3 and divided it by 100, times 20,000, and that gets us $600. Okay, and since we're only doing this for 1 year, that's going to be the answer, B. Okay, number 16. So these are basically just some definition problems. So I'm going to go through those pretty quickly. It says the blank in financial formulas is the balance upon which interest is paid. So the right answer to that is B. Number 17 says the blank is the actual percentage by which a balance increases in 1 year. Okay, that's B. Okay, and that has to do with, we're just looking at it, you want by 1 year. Number 18 says, is interest paid only on the original principal and not on the interest added at later dates? Okay, so the right answer to this one is also B, simple interest. Okay, number 19 says this is interest paid both on the original principal and on all interest that has been added to the original principal. Okay, and that's going to be compound interest. So those all ended up being B. Okay, a sample statistic and margin of error are given. Find the confidence interval likely to contain the population parameter of interest and the annual, and answer the question. So number 20 says a poll conducted the day before the student body presidential election at a Midwestern university showed that 52.6% favored Mario, the rest favoring Yin Ling. The margin of error was 3.6 percentage points. Should Yin Ling have conceded the election? Well, the first thing that we want to take account is that we've got 52.6% favored Mario. Okay, so the rest favored Yin Ling. Now, we also have this margin of error that's important. And remember, with the margin of error, you want to add that and you want to subtract it. Okay, so you want to do 52.6 plus 3.6, and that's going to give us 56.2. And you also want to look at what happens when you subtract the 3.6. So that is 49.0. So this is the actual chances that he has to win the election when we consider our margin of error. It's going to be somewhere between 49% and 56.2%. And it says So this is our confidence error. This is our confidence interval. And so the right answer here is B. So when we're looking at this, first off, we want to notice that to win an election, you just need to have more than 50%. Okay, and so there is a chance that he's not going to get more than 50% because he could score down here in the 49% range. So that's why the answer is no, he should not concede the election, because there is a chance he still won it. So we want to make sure that they actually counted all the votes. Okay, 21. 10 years ago, according to the government records, 17% of the population of Elmwood had no health insurance. This year, a poll revealed that 20.9% were without insurance. The margin of error was 2.8 percentage points. Find a confidence interval for the true percentage without insurance this year. Can we conclude that the percentage without insurance was increased from 10 years ago? Okay, so we know that this year we have 20.9%, and then we want to add and subtract our confidence interval of 2.8%. So we want to do 20.9 plus 2.8. And we also need to do 20.9 minus 2.8. Okay, 20.9 plus 2.8 is going to be 23.7. So that number is important. That's going to be our high end. When we subtract, we're going to get 18.1%. So our range is 18.1 to 23.7. The right answer is C. Okay, both of those numbers are higher than the 17% that we had with no health insurance. So number 22 says, a tax auditor selects every 1,000th income tax return that is received. Okay, so this is an example of systematic. Okay, remember systematic is you have a plan in place. So they're saying every 1,000th one. We could say they're going to select every 10th one. They're going to select every 5th one. Or they're going to select every 100th one. But there's systematic means there's a definite plan in place. Okay, 23 says a sample consists of every 20th student who leaves the library. Okay, still systematic here because we're talking about every 20th student who leaves the library. Number 24 says, which of the following describes a study in which the patients do not know whether they are receiving the treatment or the placebo, but the experimenters do know? Okay, so whenever the experimenters know, it's single blind. When the experimenters do not know, it's double blind. Okay, 25 says, which of the following describes a study in which neither the participants nor the experimenters know? Okay, that's going to be your example of a double blind experiment. Okay, let's go back up here, and a simple random survey would be like, we're going to put everybody's name in a hat and we're going to draw, just draw from the hat. That's a simple random. Okay, stratified means that we've kind of divided people into groups already, and we're going to pick something out of those groups. So if we were to divide our population at Pulaski Tech into maybe some groups, we might pick groups based on race, or we might pick groups based on majors. And then we might want to draw so many out of each one of those. That would be something that was stratified. Convenience means that it's truly convenient for the person doing the survey. So you would go outside and stand outside of Walmart and just ask the first 10 people that came in the store. That would be something that's convenient, easy to do. Okay, so I'm going to post this video, and I'm going to go over problems number 26 through 40 on Friday morning, and I'll post those as soon as I get them done.